In the years following the Civil War, as leisure travel became part of the American lifestyle, Magnolia, a fishing and farming village in the southernmost part of Gloucester, bloomed. Just a short carriage or train ride from Boston, Magnolia became a popular coastal getaway for the well-to-do. As the rich and famous discovered the tiny Tony Village, grand hotels were built, turning Magnolia into a true summer resort by the dawn of the 20th century. In its heyday, Magnolia attracted titans of industry, dignitaries such as General MacArthur, Presidents Taft and Roosevelt, and celebrities like Louisa May Alcott and Lucille Ball. The heart of Magnolia was Lexington Avenue, its arcade facade on one side, an opulent colonnade mall on the other, boasting worldly shops that rivaled New York City's Fifth Avenue. Tiffany's and FAO Schwartz were fixtures, as were lush tea gardens and specialty boutiques featuring fine china, linens, silver, and furs. But the crown jewel of Magnolia was the massive Oceanside Hotel. Built in 1880, the Oceanside was a sprawling 6 stories tall, with sidekick cottages and a bathing pavilion at nearby Crescent Beach. It was the largest wooden structure in the Northeast and largest hotel east of the Mississippi, housing up to 3,000 guests per night. It had its own casino, library, and beauty shops, generated its own electricity, made its own ice, and burned 6 tons of coal a day. John Barrymore performed at the theater. John Philip Sousa and the Marine Corps band played the ballroom. For a time, Magnolia was a star on the map. But the high and mighty weren't the only people attracted to Magnolia. Lexington Avenue was also known as Robbers Row, the site of countless capers, including one of the largest burglaries in American history. I'm Kory for 1623 Studios, and this is the story of the amazing Magnolia jewelry heist. Friday, July 6, 1934. The fashionable summer colony readies for another weekend of catering to high society. On posh Lexington Avenue, inside the arcade-style building across the famous Oceanside Hotel, is the Hodgson Kennard Jewelry Store. Manager Charles Orcutt is preparing to open. Robert Hodgson, the owner's son, arrives from the jeweler's main branch in Boston to assist. A major client has arranged a private sale, and the jewelers want to impress. They sort through an eye-popping array of rare gems and valuables they received just the day before in anticipation of the buy. Behind drawn curtains, Orcutt arranges pearls, brooches, and diamonds. Shortly after 10 a.m., 2 well-dressed men enter the store, and even though it's early, Hodgson and Orcutt greet the potential customers. The men flash automatic weapons, threaten to shoot, gag Orcutt and Hodgson, and bind them together with tape. One culprit moves to the back room, where 16-year-old Eddie Davis is working a summer job polishing silver. Eddie ignores a tap-tap-tap on his shoulder, thinking Orcutt is playing a prank. But when he turns around, a machine gun is aimed right at him. Upon hearing the commotion, Orcutt's wife and maid rush in from their nearby apartment. All 3 are bound, gagged, and tossed to the floor with Hodgson and Orcutt. 3 more bandits dash in, smashing display cases and grabbing everything of high value. It's a well-oiled operation, but there's one problem. Outside the store, Mrs. Orcutt's terrier, Heiny, will not stop barking. Unnerved, the machine gunman threatens to spray the place with lead. The other robbers convince their partner not to shoot, then quicken their pace. In under 5 minutes, they stuff large canvas sacks, leaving the victims on the floor, and screech off in 2 cars with Heiny in hot pursuit. In their haste, the robbers bypass a large safe. Police arrive in minutes. A frantic search begins. The state police in Topsfield are notified. as are detective bureaus in New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. As word spreads, details emerge. Summer residents on Shore Road swear they saw a boat whiz recklessly from Magnolia Pier. In Manchester, gas station attendants watch with dropped jaws as two racing sedans lean treacherously on two wheels as they round a corner and speed out of sight. Back at the jewelry shop, police get descriptions of the robbers. 4 dark-complected men, 1 fair-skinned. Likely Italian gangsters. The angry gunman had a squashed nose. All wore summer sports clothes and gloves. None wore masks. Young Eddie Davis says one was dressed like a golfer, an argyle and a cap, and another as a chauffeur. One car parked on Lexington, a second was around the corner on Flume Road. No fingerprints or clues were left behind. It's a clean getaway. The stolen jewels are assessed at over $325,000. In today's money, over $7.5 million. Within days, abandoned cars are found in Lynn, Worcester, and Rochester, New York. 2 of the leads go cold, but the dark green sedan in Worcester contains 3 revolvers and armor plating. Police say it's their vehicle. Another witness goes to the cops. Hours before the robbery, at the Stage Fort Park Rest House, caretaker Sheldon Sudbay says he saw 5 men matching the robbers' descriptions use the public washroom together. Police believe the first 2 men to enter Hodgson Canard were torpedoes, gunmen hired by gangsters to aid sophisticated thieves. There's no doubt these pros knew where to rob, when to rob, and which jewels were most expensive. All eyes turn to store manager Orcutt, who vows it's not an inside job, despite the bandits knowing intimate details of the location, the recent jewel delivery for a major client, and habits of the store. Remember, this was a Friday morning after Independence Day. Hundreds of socialites with deep pockets and a deeper desire to flaunt their wealth were descending upon Magnolia. Investigators believe the 5 men are underground and avoiding fencers, middlemen who buy stolen goods to resell, in hopes that an intermediary will deliver a ransom from the insurance company in return for the jewels. It's a shrewd, common tactic known as jewelry kidnapping. The matter gets resolved by folks who have nothing to do with the crime, and, if no one's hurt along the way, immunity is granted. Then, a break. 1 week later, arrests are made in Providence, gangster types with long rap sheets. One witness immediately spots a gunman from a lineup, but refuses to go to court to make a positive ID. All suspects are eventually released. Around Magnolia, folks cannot stop talking about the most exciting event in the village's storied history. The 1930s are the height of robbery hysteria in America. Gangsters are both romanticized and reviled by the public and press. 6 weeks before the Hodgson Canard heist, notorious criminal couple Bonnie and Clyde were killed in Louisiana after 2 years of captivating and terrorizing the nation. And only 12 days later, gangster and media darling John Dillinger is killed outside a theater in Chicago. In fact, many public officials wonder if the Hodgson Canard job could have been the work of Dillinger's gang. In a time when interstate communication amongst law enforcement was virtually non-existent, heady criminals had the upper hand. This golden age of American robberies eventually leads to a young bureaucrat named J. Edgar Hoover to create a modern version of the FBI. By the end of the summer of 1934, all leads run dry. There's no sign of the missing jewels, or a middleman, or a fencer, or a snitch. The police drop the case. In the years following the robbery, the rise of automobiles and interstate highways led to a steep decline in local tourism. After World War II, Magnolia got real quiet. Hodgson Canard closed its doors in 1943. The Oceanside Hotel burned to the ground in 1958. Subsequent fires in 1991 and 2002 razed shops and condos where the Grand Hotel once stood, though part of the arcade-style structure where Hodgson Kennard was located still exists, as do the Flume Road apartments where the Orcutts lived. For years, Eddie Davis ran a popular neighborhood garage, until that too burned down. Today, the safe from the Hodgson Kennard jewelry store is housed at the Magnolia Historical Society and Museum at the Blimmen Schoolhouse on Magnolia Avenue. Nearly 100 years later, the amazing Magnolia jewelry heist remains unsolved.